What would you do if the creator of the universe himself went silent? What happens when the man meant to be the light of a nation chooses to walk willingly into the darkness? Imagine a king, once anointed and glorious, now crawling through the midnight mud in disguise to knock on the door of the forbidden. This isn't just a story about war. It's about a night of absolute despair. A night when the laws of heaven were shattered, and a voice that should have been at eternal rest was ripped from the depths. Prepare yourself, because today we enter the cave of Ender to witness Saul's fatal error. Israel, circa 1000 BC. The air is heavy, thick with the scent of sweat, iron, and fear. The Jezreel Valley has never felt so cold. On the horizon, the fires of the Philistine army glow like thousands of hungry eyes. They are many. They are cruel. And they are ready for the slaughter. In the camp of Israel, silence is the greatest enemy. Saul, the nation's first king, looks to the sky, but the heavens are as brass. He seeks a sign, a dream, a word. But God has withdrawn. The spirit that once propelled him to grand victories is now only a painful memory. Saul is alone. The king is surrounded, not just by enemy soldiers, but by the deepest spiritual void a man can feel. Saul tried everything. He summoned priests, sought out prophets, and waited for revelations through the Urim and Thummim. Nothing. Divine silence was his sentence. In an act of madness born of terror, Saul decides to take the very step he himself had forbidden under penalty of death. Years earlier, he had expelled all mediums and sorcerers from the land, upholding the law of Moses. But now, the king who drove out the darkness was hunting for it. "Find me a woman who consults the dead," he commands. If God will not speak from above, Saul would try to hear what came from below. The name of a forgotten place arises, Ender, and with it, a question that echoes through the centuries. What happens when God's chosen decides to seek answers in the abyss? Saul is not just a villain. He is a human tragedy. We see a man nearly 7 feet tall, the most handsome in Israel, now bowed by the weight of his own rejection. His fear of defeat against the Philistines is great, but his fear of dying without one last word of guidance is greater. He feels betrayed by the prophet Samuel, who had already died, and abandoned by God, who had rejected him for his previous disobedience. Saul is broken. His search for the occult is not an act of arrogant rebellion, but the cry of a drowning man who, to keep from sinking, tries to grab hold of a razor blade. The night is moonless. Saul strips off his royal robes, the purple, the gold, the fine linen, and dresses in rags. The king of Israel now looks like a common peasant, a beggar of the truth. Accompanied by only 2 men, he crosses enemy lines in secret. Every snapped twig sounds like a thunderclap. They arrive at the house of the medium in Ender. It is a somber, secluded place, where the smell of strange incense and damp earth dominates the air. The woman is tense. She lives in the shadows, surviving the purge that Saul himself led. The ritual begins. The circle is drawn. The forbidden is about to be invoked. The medium hesitates. "You know what Saul has done," she says, unaware she is speaking to the king himself. Saul swears by the name of the Lord, a profane irony, that no harm will come to her. She accepts. She begins to enter a trance, murmuring ancient words. For a moment, the listener might think, is this just a trick? Is she a charlatan taking advantage of a desperate man? Many at the time used ventriloquism or illusions to deceive the afflicted. The suspense reaches its peak as smoke rises and the room seems to chill to the point of freezing. Is it a demon feigning to be a prophet? Or will Saul's silence be filled by a comfortable lie? Suddenly, the air in the cave seems to be sucked out. The medium lets out a piercing shriek, a cry of pure terror that cuts through the night. She does not see a familiar spirit or a common shadow. She sees something she didn't expect. "Why have you deceived me? You are Saul," she screams. She sees gods ascending from the earth. The atmosphere shifts from an occult ritual to a genuine and terrifying supernatural manifestation. The woman's face is pale, her eyes wide. Saul, prostrate with his face to the ground, asks, "What do you see?" The answer makes the blood run cold. "I see an old man coming up, wrapped in a robe." Saul knows who it is. He recognizes the description. It is no illusion. It is no fraud by the woman. In an unprecedented event in Scripture, the entity that arises is not controlled by the medium. Samuel appears. But there is no embrace, no comfort. The Samuel who emerges from the shadows brings with him the weight of eternity and the rigor of judgment. Saul realizes too late that crossing the threshold between the living and the dead did not bring a solution, but the confirmation of his worst nightmare. He did not summon an ally. He summoned his own death sentence. The voice of Samuel echoes, not in Saul's ears, but in his soul. "Why have you disturbed me?" Saul tries to justify himself. "The Philistines are oppressing me. God has departed from me." But the sentence is relentless. Samuel offers no hope. He reveals the naked truth. The kingdom has been torn from his hands and given to David. And the final blow, the climax of all anguish. "Tomorrow you and your sons will be with me." Tomorrow, the army of Israel will be crushed. Tomorrow, the king will cease to exist. The sound of the future collapsing is audible in that cave. Saul falls full length on the floor, strengthless, consumed by terror and hunger. His fate is sealed. The sun rises the next day, but for Saul, the night never ended. On Mount Gilboa, the prophecy is fulfilled with surgical precision. Philistine arrows find their marks. Saul's sons fall one by one. Seeing the end of his bloodline and the defeat of his people, Saul falls upon his own sword. The man who sought a medium because he couldn't stand the silence of God now enters the eternal silence of the grave. The statue of Dagon may have fallen before the ark, but the king who turned away from the ark fell before his own demons. The story of the Witch of Endor remains one of the darkest and most mysterious accounts in the Bible. It leaves us with a warning that spans millennia. There are doors that should never be opened. There are silences from God that are, in themselves, an answer. Saul tried to force heaven through hell, and the result was his utter ruin. In the end, the greatest lesson isn't about what the medium saw, but about what Saul lost. Trust in the one who holds the keys to life and death. In your desperation, where do you seek your answers? Be careful. Some voices, once heard, can never be forgotten.